Not audible
Okay.
and hi
Um,
Kumati. Thanks for joining.
okay. Maybe I can start. That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Just give me a minute. Okay. The screen is visible. Cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
visible.
the screen is visible, right? And everyone could type on your keyboard in the chat. So because that's where you're going to post me the questions, and I'm going to get the queries answered, right? So we'll start with today's session. So thanks everyone for coming, for making your time over the weekend. So as the title says, it's all about bringing your AWS cost down now, right? So it's as the title says, we are going to talk about a more cost optimization part. So any guesses how much an average an enterprise customer would pay the cloud bill would be? Any judge, any assumption like how much they would average paid per month that cloud bill would be? Your answers would be welcomed in the Gmeet section, and then we'll take it from there. You can type maybe $1, $2, how much your assumption, like as an enterprise customer for AWS, how much they would be on average they would be paying for. You can type. We're very limited people, so we'll try to make it interactive. Wow, okay, $50,000. Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Thanks for me. Any guesses? Okay, 30,000. Yeah. Any minimum maximum range? What do you guys think? All right. So it can start from four-digit number for sure. Like minimum is going to be four-digit number, and then it can even go up to like based on the consumption, right? Like you add XXX figures on top of it. So how many of them in the session are like students, developers, DevOps, product owners? I think it's a mixed of audience, right? So, irrespective of which role you play, you might be a developer, you might be a DevOps person, you might be a FinOps, you might be a product owner. But then when it comes to optimizing the cost or the overall cloud building, right? So it's a responsibility for everyone, and everyone can be part of uh, the contribute in terms of the cost optimization topic. So now, if you wonder, okay, you spoke about the average billing and who this talk is for and the responsibility. If you ask me, like, who am I, right? Because you need to know, like, who am I? Else, it's going to be who's this guy coming and speaking over here. So myself, Vasans, I have over 10 years of experience and currently play role of senior cloud engineer in ANZ, and I'm also three times consecutive AWS community builder, and it's due and renew. So it's me luck. Hope I get renewed this year as well. And these are some fancy AWS certifications I hold. On top of it, I also run two YouTube channels: Tech Page, which is in Tamil, and eVidai, which is in English. Both rounds AWS, DevOps, and cloud initiatives part. So let's kick into the topic itself. So if we talk in terms of billing, cost optimization, and part, so it can sound very technical, right? So let's take one step away and then take it as a generic one. So this comes in terms of financial management, right? Like how do you every individual as us manage our own finance? So everyone deal with finance, right? So everyone deal with money, everyone gets paid, so obviously everyone can't skip this major topic of finance management itself. So the question is, how do you track your finance? How do you track your monthly finance? What tools you use? Again, in the comment section, please. Do you use any app? Do you use any tools? Do you use any ways? How do you track your monthly finance? Not the cloud finance. Like monthly finance, you go for a restaurant, you go for groceries, and then you go for a trip. How do you track your expenses month on month? How do you do that? I guess still in the call. Can be in Microsoft Excel. Do you use Excel at least for tracking the finance? At least do you track your finance or just a bank statement and done? So more quicker you type, more sooner I end my session and then we all go
Hello.
home faster. Okay, so I got an
Yeah,
answer
yeah, நான்
from
பின் பண்ணி
Excel,
பார்க்குறேன் அவங்க.
right? So most would be using Excel.
Let's see.
The few might be using the ready-made apps available from the Play
போட்டிருக்கேன்.
Store or App Store.
போட்டிருக்கேன்
If you're a
மெசேஜா.
tech savvy, maybe you
இன்னும்
can
ரிப்ளை
integrate
வரல.
with the Excel with BI related tools which are available out there, and then get visualization of charts and stuff, right? So let's take a scenario like you track your monthly expense, and then you came to know that your most expense goes into two major categories, maybe like groceries and restaurants. So as a normal human, right? So what steps you would consider taking to minimize those expenses? Any idea? Maybe you can unmute because with limited audience, you can even unmute and answer like what you would do to bring your cost down. Like let's say assume that 50% of your expense goes for your groceries and restaurant. Then what would be your takeaway in terms of reducing it further? Maybe I can start first. Maybe I would try to cut down the duration. Like if I go like weekly 8 times, maybe I would try consider going for like 5 times to reduce the restaurant billing down. Anything else? What you would do? Yeah, Vijay Lakshmi, you are with me on the same boat. Like reduce the frequency to visit restaurants. Yeah. What else we can consider doing it? Okay. So few things you would consider doing it, right? So one is in terms of you compare the price of the cost of the hotels. Like let's say hotel A is going to charge you like X amount, and if another is giving you a discount of some 10 percentage, maybe by switching to the different hotel for the same one, you can consider saving cost. The another is the frequency, right? Like how often you go, you try to minimize the billing in terms of reducing the frequency. And then the another one is like in terms of getting the brand loyalty, right? Like for example, you get yearly subscriptions for groceries, and then so that you can reduce costs in terms of delivery, or you can reduce costs in terms of cashback options, right? So those are the generic things you would consider do when it comes to our personal finance to reduce the cost. So the similar things would apply in terms of cloud billing as well. Like we consider in terms of reduce the frequency, you try to compare the services, you try to opt for the brand loyalty, right? So exactly similar things occurs, and we are going to discuss in terms of what are the options available when it comes to cloud cost optimization, keeping these as a basic metrics, right? So this is a ground level set which you're going to do. And then also in terms of brand, right? Like if one brand is going to offer you for X, and then you can also compare with the brand of Y. So let's go for the one. So it's all started with the data. So without knowing the data, we might not know like from where to start our cuts out our expenses, because we know we got the data, then we able to figure it out. It was restaurant or groceries or rent where our major expense goes through it, right? So same way in AWS also, we would need to start with the data. So where can we find our data? So the AWS offers a service called the Cost Explorer. Again, it's a free service. So if you are dealing with the the cost, the billing, then the Cost Explorer is going to give you the visibility, like where your amount is getting going away or spent away, right? A quick demo like how it is going to look like, how the UI looks like in the Cost Explorer part. So the quick thing is that you go into the console, and then you're going to search for the service Cost Explorer. Then it's going to give you the graphical format of uh, where is your monthly expense goes in. So by default, if you look like, it just give you a rough summary, like you have made some X figures, but then it doesn't give you the clarity of where the expense is being gone through, right? That's the first look it's going to look like when you first land in the service Cost Explorer itself. So same as how do you do the further analysis in your budgeting, right? So same thing is going to apply here. So if you see in the screen. So this is how the generic things is going to look like. And here the major key focus you would look in terms of the report parameters. So even in the report parameters, there are like multiple range and the granularity and dimensions and stuff. So you would be more focusing in terms of two different stuff, which is dimensions and then the filters to get the more clear clarity, like where the actual spend is going to be happening. So if you go in terms of dimensions, right? So you get multiple options to get grouped together. So you get service, like which service is going to uh, the spend is going on. So for example, Route 53 as a service, it can be used for both DNS and also for the purpose of domain registration, right? So then it will be very generic with the saying that it's going to be for the service Route 53. Same way, if you go for linked account, then for which account the bill is being generated, the region, like which region, availability zone, which availability zone, tag, like what are the grouping of tags, right? It's going to give you the clarity. So the major focus I would do here is the usage type, that would give you more granular scope. Even if it is Route 53, it would say like it's meant for the domain level registration, so that you get more clarity. And then you can also compare, is the resources generated only from the expected region and expected availability zone. So this gives you the clarity when you start playing with it. And then the major things you would do here is, so this is an example, right? So here I have done based on the dimension usage type, and then you could see that the Route 53 domains, and then what are the other categories is being charged, is being given a clear detailed information over that. So going further next to it, the tags plays a major component over here, because many people we just create the resources without any tagging. But then if you want to get the detailed instruction, right, like to know like where the actual billing is being generated, and from where the actual expense is coming from. So as a organization, you would need to ensure that you have the right tag configuration is being set, and then you have the guardrail part to ensure that your organization as a company has been following those specific standards has been followed. So always ensure you tag your resources so that you get the clear clarity, irrespective of what region, what IoT zone. You can identify the owner for the cost of the billing, and then you can start your cost optimization conversation from that. So next to the tags, in the same report parameter section in the UI, if you come down, you would see the chart visualization is based on these different options available over there. So you have unblended cost, amortized cost, blended, net unblended, and net amortized. Based on the option you choose, the graph visualization and the data is going to vary. So when it comes to Cost Explorer, it's really important to understand the key components and what means what. So to simplify, so unblended cost, it means it's going to give you the actual charge on the day happen. Let's say I purchased a Route 53 domain on October 14th. Then in the graph, it would show me on October 14th a spike of 14 US dollars. Same way, if let's say if I go for the net unblended cost, then it's going to be the so the cost of the day after all the discounts. Let's say if I got a specific discount from the AWS, then it's going to say, hey, your actual billing is 14, but then you got a discount of 10 percentage. Then I would reduce that specific cost, and then it would give me the discounted price from that. So same way, if you go for the amortized cost, so this is going to give you the option of spreading the billing. So let's say I paid a cost saving option of 365 US dollars for the entire year. Then it's going to spread across the years, and then it would show $1 spike in every day. So that's going to be for amortized. So in the unblended, it's going to show like only one day it's going to show the $365, whereas in amortized it would spread across, and it would say like per day $1 as the pricing cost. So same thing, you have another option of net amortized, which is like the spread of cost after all the discounts. Same, you have blended cost. So this is going to be helpful when you have centralized billing, and then you want to group together based on the accounts, based on the resource type. So those kind of cumulative or like consolidated billing can be visualized over the blended cost. AWS also offers you something called as a forecast billing, which means based on the utilization of your past data, it can predict and say, okay, in the upcoming days, you are going to get billed for XYZ duration. So understanding this specific components will help you to exactly identify where your billing is being done. So let's say now you have understanding and figure it out where your actual spike is coming from, and then now we want to go further and start reducing the cost expense, right? So there are generally four different things which we spoke. One is reducing the frequency, and then try different shops or different services, opting for the brand loyalty, and then changing the brand itself, right? So four different things which we spoke. So first let's talk about how we can reduce the frequency itself. So when we talk about reducing the frequency, it starts from your account architecture setup. So if you design your architecture per use case, it's going to make your life more easy to start reducing your cost optimization. Let's say you have a developer account or the account which is only used by the developer for any testing purpose. Then during the non-working hours or during the holiday seasons, you can just ditch that account, and then you can bring that account back whenever there is a need of it. Same way, whenever the solutions which you implement, if you choose infra as code approach rather ClickOps, then it's going to help you in terms of getting your changes done in a repeated way and without manual intervention. So here I choose an example of Terraform. There are also other equivalent options available like CloudFormation and even other tools which solves a similar purpose. A quick demo of with the Terraform as an example, how quick it's going to be with the infra as code solution, so that you can bring the instance up and down sooner. So if you see here, I written a couple of lines, hardly like 14 plus 12, right? 26 lines of code to bring an EC2 instance launch, and then just by doing a 3 line of commands by Terraform init and then plan and apply, I'm going to launch the EC2 instance itself with the organization standard of setting the tags and no ClickOps, right? So without even logging into the console, we can just do it, and it's going to give a clear instructional change like what is going to be changed over here. And then once we go ahead and do for apply, it's going to launch the instance, and we can even go immediately and check at the console of the creation of the instances part. So by doing this, even though with no manual intervention, we have the comfort in terms of bringing the instance up and down at our specific ease. So you see, it says that the instance been completed, and also I got the instance ID at the terminal without even going to the console. And if we do a refresh, we could see that the server is up and running. So with this kind of approach, we can quickly destroy and bring it back whenever there is a need of it. Same way, you can also use the AWS CLI based approach. So same way, so this is a quick demo like how we can destroy the resources which we created using Terraform, and then we can just destroy using the CLI itself. So I took the instance ID from out there, and this is the CLI command with hardly like 1 line of code. And you see now the instance has been running. And if I go and execute the command over the console, it's going to start terminating the instance, so that we can use it even if you don't want to. If you're not even managing via infra code, you can still do that using the part. So now if you see there is an error being shown that the instance is not exist, it's because I'm running the credentials from a different region, which is US East 1, but then the actual server runs in the EU West 1. So once I rectify it, you could see the command has been successful. And if I go back to the console, the instance is already start terminating it. So I kept it purposefully for like wrong region, because when we go with like infrastructure approach, you might be setting the region in a different way. Same way, when you are going with CLI options, you need to be mindful like you are running in a specific region, especially if you are dealing with production, right? So there is no scope of error to do it. So AWS also offers you something like AWS SDK. So if you are good at programming, either Node.js, Python, then you can incorporate AWS SDK, and then you can use event triggers like services to trigger a Lambda, the serverless based approach, to execute your code, either to bring the instances up or to bring the instances down, based on your uh, requirement of cost optimization, right? Like you just cut off when you don't need the resources. You can also consider using AWS native services or like options. For example, the S3 logs, you can consider the retention, like how long you want to retain it, and then use AWS specific lifecycle rules to move the lifecycle rules into the specific categories. Also choose right category, like is that log is needed to be in a standard class, or what kind of storage you want to choose, right? So based on that also, the cost is going to be varying completely. So these are the generic things which you can consider in terms of reducing the frequency, or uh, looking out for like terminating and bring it up again. Next, let's talk about comparing the services or comparing with the other part, right? So the major things you would start is a tool called the price calculator, because we can't implement it and then you can't get quotation, right? So first you get the quotation, you understand how much cost is going to occur before even you proceed further on it, so that you can act more vigilant on it, on that part. So again, this is going to be a quick demo, like how you can create the estimate. Why this is majorly useful is that when we talk about AWS as a cloud provider, there can be additional cost occur on it. For example, if you're launching an EC2 instance, on top of it, you're going to pay for storage volume. On top of it, you're going to pay for, if the instance is going to launch in public IP, then there is going to be cost occurrence for the IP which you're going to reserve for it. So you can't just go and look at the cost of the main purpose like EC2, but then you will also need to go one level deep into it. On the dependent service, is there any cost for it? So in this demo, I choose an example of Lambda to see like how it is going to be. So this is again available in internet for everyone. So if you choose a region, because the pricing is going to vary based from region to region as well. So you can, if you want to compare the regions and make the decision, you can also do a run from one region to the another region. So here, if you see, I'm going to compare for the Lambda as a service, and for my use case, how much billing it would require. So when we talk in terms of Lambda, first thing comes is just about the number of requests and the compute time, isn't it? But then if you talk in terms of production, it doesn't stop right there, but also it can also incur the cost for the concurrency, like how much concurrency you want to reserve for your Lambda within your account. So if you see, I could cover the compute and request within the free tier monthly of $0. But then when I go for the provisioned concurrency, it's going to start incurring the cost for me. So that's why it's very vital in terms of to plan your cost, to understand how much it's going to actually cost you before even you start your solution implementation. Or if you already have an implementation running on X service, and if you want to move to the another service, you can use this tool to understand how it is going to work out for you. So if you see, after adding the concurrency, it's going to charge me 146 US dollars. And then once you say save and view summary, it can give you the uh, annual cost also. So annually, it's going to charge me 1,757, which I assumed as zero initially, assuming just the request and the compute time. But then once I included the concurrency, the actual billing figures got changed. So the similar thing would apply for any other service as well. So whenever you are planning for adapting a new service, use this tool to get this checked. Also, whenever you do the cost exploration part, bear in mind, even like the smaller dots, collective of smaller dots makes the ocean, right? So the does this figure sounds smaller or bigger for you? The 0.005 cents to scan per GB of data. Does this sounds cost minimal or expensive for you people? Could you comment that? Is that a minimal or expense for you people? 0.005 cents per GB to scan data. Is it expensive or cost cheaper? Okay, yeah, it's a depends. It's a perfect architecture answer, right? It depends. So if you want to go binary yes or no, like what you would go? Uh, is it expensive or cheaper? Uh, Okay, yeah. So we got an answer from Mulinga, like cheap. Would anyone like to go next? Just give your option, whether it's in the comment section if you're in your GUI. Uh, right, so Abhinay has mentioned it's going to terabytes of data. It will be. I haven't told yet. It's in the next slide, right? So, so if you scan in terms of the next one, it's going to be like $5 per TB, right? So same thing if the same operation is done like 100 times, it's going to be like $500. So this is the best example for the case of CloudWatch Insights, right? So if you are doing a scanning or running a query on data in the CloudWatch Insights, they're going to charge you 0.005 cents per GB to scan data. As the TB grows, your billing also going to grow. So don't think uh, the the bird's eye view and think that it looks cheaper. Always thinks the long term and wider picture. So if you even able to save a minor cents, right, 0.005 cents, then at the long term execution, it's going to make a huge difference for your overall billing part. So that's where the major, like whom you are giving you the access. For example, if you're giving an access to to a developer who are not aware about these facts and then just running a query and TBs of data, your billing is going to spike in like 5,000 or more dollars over there, right? So more based on the traffic volume. So you would start analyzing more predefined data or like refined data, like reduced duration, so that you get your results with a minimal cost exploration. So that also matters when we talk about cost optimization as a topic. So we spoke in terms of like how we can use price calculation as a option to do this. So if you let's talk about the next one is about like brand loyalty, right? So AWS offers you something called as savings plan. The three major things which I came across is about they offer you for compute, EC2 instance, and SageMaker, which you can opt for a long-term commitment, and then you get reduction in price. Uh, if you're an enterprise customer, if you speak to the technical account manager, then there can be like a specific plan curated for your account. So all you need to do is to speak to your technical account manager. But if you're a normal person who are not enterprise level at, then these are the common plans which are available to the public. Anyone can opt and get your costs saved in wider, right? So these are the generic steps as anyone can take in terms of to bring their cost down, and it doesn't need any expertise. Like the tools are available public, it doesn't going to cost you any extra to implement it. So as a takeaway, so we have uh, very uh, interactive audience over there. So the takeaway is that post this session, I want you guys to do these steps so that you get an impact and you get and result out of the session, and it doesn't stops there like some random guy came and spoke for like 20-30 minutes and vanished, right? So I want you guys to analyze your billing because it's read only access. Anyone would give you, even in an organization. If you don't have the read access, you can ask them. You don't need to ask for write access for sure, but read access they would give you. Analyze it, uh, and then whichever is under your control, you can retire those services, which is like decommissioning it, and then try to automate which are the things you can do, so that if you are using a service which is no one is going to consume during the weekends or holiday sessions, try to automate it so that you can bring those costs down and then bring it up whenever it's needed. Resize it. So if you're using some like large size instance but you're not going to use it, you can resize it. If you're using an EBS volume which is actually consuming only like 10 TB, but then you end up reserve the volume for like let's say 40 TB, then you're unnecessarily going to pay for additional 30 TB, right? So try to resize those unused resources, bring that also will help you in terms of bring the cost down, and also try to opt for savings plan so that again you can start reducing your cost and the overall picture. So take a screenshot of it if you want. These are the takeaway action items for you people who are paid attention and listen till end of the session. So post this, I would really appreciate like so this is my LinkedIn account. So how much ever cost you would able to save, or if you find this session valuable, do tag me in LinkedIn. Would love to hear your feedback, how impact this session created for you as an individual. So I'm there for, and even any follow-up questions or any specific queries, do feel free to ping me over LinkedIn and ask out your queries. So thanks for this opportunity. Thanks everyone who paid attention over the weekend and listen till end of the session. Any queries, do ask me in the chat. I'm happy to answer and get that clarified. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the insightful session, Keerthivasan, about AWS cost optimization, how to reduce the cost, and good walkthrough of it. And if you have any queries, you can ask now also. And if you have any feedback on the session, you can say that also. If you don't have any queries, we can move to the next session. Shall we take the silence as yes? Yeah. Moving to the next session, who is going to present is Veliswa Boya, who is a senior developer advocate on AWS, and she is gonna present about the next generation builder experience on AWS. And
Hey everyone, can you hear me? I think
yeah,
I've got the audio right now. I'm good, right? You can hear me. Perfect.
yeah,
Okay. So I'm presenting from a different laptop. I had to make another plan. Sorry about earlier on. Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the invite. And I'm excited for this community that you all have, and awesome session that we've just had now on cost optimization. And thank you for sharing there. So I will be talking about the next generation developer. I think it's a buzzword that we've been hearing, and some of us might be wondering what is this all about and what does this actually mean? So I'll do a walkthrough of all of that today, and then we can take a look at that. I will move to my presentation mode, and which means I won't be able to see the chat. If you have any questions at any point, you can stop me and ask, and then we can discuss. So we're hearing about the next generation developer, but before I do that, let me just do a quick introduction just to, I think a lot of us on the call, there'll be a lot of you on the call who haven't met me before. So I am a developer advocate at AWS. I'm Veliswa Boya. I'm based in South Africa, Johannesburg. I'm part of the EMEA team. So my entire team is distributed throughout Europe and Middle East. I'm the only one in Africa. And my role is to work with the developer community, specifically the one in Africa, but I do work with developer communities everywhere else as well, such as yourselves. And so I'm quite excited to be here with all of you, like I just mentioned before. And a bit of my background before joining AWS, I worked as a software developer. I started out working on mainframes, and next week, I'm actually going to be at the London Summit, and I'm talking about how you can migrate your mainframe applications to the cloud and quickly optimize using AI. And I thought it was interesting because my career actually started out working on mainframes, and now I talk about how to bring mainframes and AI, which is the latest thing, together. So I think that's quite an interesting thing to see how tech tends to evolve and how there's always that journey. Started out as a software developer, but then I moved on and I became a systems analyst. I've also covered roles such as a business analyst. I've been a solution architect, and just before I joined AWS, I was a cloud engineer. I worked for one of the big banks here in South Africa. And so we've been hearing about building without limits. And what does this mean? And there's been all this buzz about how you can reimagine the next generation developer experience. What does that mean? So a lot of this took off in 2023. I would say even just before that, but I know around October 2023, we saw a lot of take off in people building with AI assisted coding assistants. I think is a question that I can pose to all of you. Are any of you on this call building with AI coding assistants right now? If you are, could you please drop it in the chat what coding assistant you're using? It does not have to be an AWS one. So if it's ChatGPT, just let us know. I'm very curious to see how many of us are starting to explore with these tools and which tools we're actually exploring with. So if you are using a coding assistant, just drop it in the chat and then we can discuss later about what we are actually using. But on AWS, what we saw in 2023 was that this was the year that generative AI became quite a thing, a very big thing for customers. They were really discovering it and wanting to experiment with it. And what we saw with who were the early adopters is that they actually did achieve some form of success with it. Although there was some experimentation, but there was some production workloads and success with this that some of our customers started to achieve and realize. What's starting to happen since last year, 2024, is that things are really starting to accelerate and it's looking very different. What customers were building in 2023 and where everyone is starting to move towards. We are seeing this rate quite accelerate, and we are seeing customers using AI to create modern applications. They're using AI to build complex application architectures, and they're using AI to maintain complex applications. And so, what we're now starting to talk about is that we are starting to walk into what's known as the new era of building. And what does this new era of building look like? So there's a study that has been done, and out of this study, it's saying that a software developer actually spends on average about an hour or less than an hour actually writing code. Where is the rest of the time for the software developer going? So a typical software development life cycle has a couple of phases that are attached to it. We start off with the planning. So this is where a lot of your time is already going if you are building an application. So you'll start off planning. When you're doing your planning, you're finding accurate and specific technical guidance for what you want to build. So you might be looking at documentation that exists. You might be looking at code examples. You might be looking at other resources. And then you might then, out of that, start to move towards designing what you want to build. The next phase then might typically be you starting to create the application. And with you creating the application, you're generating the code and you are managing the infrastructure that you want to deploy your code on. Once you've started the building and your creation of your code, you will want to move into testing and securing this code. You are applying proper test cases for the code changes that you will be making. And you're also starting to think about how you can make sure that your code is secure. And then there's operation. Operation, now you've got your code and you're starting to make sure that there are no issues. And if there are any issues, that you will be able to address them. And then you might maintain or modernize what you have once you've deployed it on production. And I said earlier on that this is a big bulk of what you've done. None of this was really about you writing any code. So at AWS, because we're seeing that customers and developers are using generative AI applications, and they've been doing a lot of exciting things in this space. We've started to think, because you're spending so much of your time not really writing code, but doing all these other activities around you, building your applications, all these activities don't include you writing code. What can we bring in that can help manage all of this for you, so that you have a lot more time that you have to do the innovation that you want to do? You can have more time to think how you can innovate for solutions that directly help your customers. So what can we remove for you from all these activities, so that you can build more and optimize for your customer? So we've got a service on AWS known as Amazon Q Developer. Q Developer is an AI coding assistant that we have, but it doesn't just stop at helping you build code. We take care of all these other activities for you, from the planning, from how you do your security scanning for your security vulnerabilities. Amazon Q Developer also helps you do the troubleshooting. So you start to write your code, and as you run it, you might hit some problems. So Amazon Q Developer does that for you. And why did we build an application or a service like Amazon Q Developer when there's so much else out there that you can use? I asked earlier on, are any of us here already building with AI coding assistants? What we saw is that people were building with AI coding assistants, and some of them had actually probably been in the game of building these AI coding assistants longer than we have. But what did we see that made us also then go and building Amazon Q Developer? AWS, we've always said that the biggest priority for us is making sure that as you build on AWS, you have data privacy and security as a very upfront consideration. So our biggest reason for building Amazon Q Developer is that we bring this consideration to the forefront, making sure that as you build your AI coding assistant supported applications, data privacy and security are already top of mind. Also, you already have your applications running on AWS. You might have data that's residing on AWS. So we've brought generative AI closer to where you already are building your other applications and where you already have your data residing. So I already mentioned that it's built around security and privacy in mind. This makes it easy for you to use generative AI safely. We've been hearing a lot of stories around ethics, around the lack of safety with some of the applications. And we already have guardrails with the generative AI applications and services that we build. We've got guardrails built in so that it's safe as you build with generative AI. So I did a catch up earlier on what Amazon Q Developer gets you, and then just to iterate around that, it helps you write your code, it helps you debug your code, test and do the optimization, and you can upgrade your code faster. And what you can also get with it is that you can then build your applications, making sure that from the beginning you manage the security, the scalability of the applications that you build, and that the applications that you build are highly available from the get-go. What we're seeing is that Amazon Q Developer is transforming the way that you do your work, and it is available wherever you work. And you can find Q specifically in your console. And how you can use it in your console is so you go into AWS console and you've got a question. You can ask in a chat, ask Q any question around AWS, and it will answer for you. And you have it also in the AWS documentation. We have it in Lambda as well. So if you're building your code is in AWS Lambda, you can access Q there. We have it in Amazon Code Catalyst. We had Amazon Q Developer in the IDE. It's still there. But we also recently announced Amazon Q for your CLI, for your command line. The demo that I will be showing actually shows how to build an application interacting with Amazon Q from your command line. So when you go either in your IDE or in Q, you can ask the agent to provision the code for you that you are looking for the application that you want to build. And how you ask using natural language. So in plain English, you can say, We can ask you to give you the code that you need. And I know it's been released for other languages as well, for support of languages such as Spanish, French, Hindi. I've seen it. So it is starting to support a lot more natural languages besides just English. You can ask it, and if as you build, you are starting to run into some errors or problems, you can ask it to do the troubleshooting for you. What we used to do in the past, if you're building code or you're building an application and you run into errors or problems, usually developers would hop out of where we are, hop out of our IDE and go and ask Stack Overflow to help us, and then we come back. What we say that is you now switching context. You were in your IDE and you to switch context, go out to Stack Overflow and come back in. And we know what can happen when you have to keep hopping in and out is that you can lose focus. But now, because we can do all the troubleshooting exactly where you are, you don't have to do that context switching. Um, I know with CLI, you can ask it to do the deployment for you of your application. If you don't know how to do some of the activities that you might need to do, like maybe installing dependencies, you can ask it how to do that. It will either tell you how to do that, or it will even offer to do those installation of those dependencies for you. I've found it myself to be quite powerful because I don't write code full time anymore. To have a service that can support my journey and help me be a little bit more comfortable in building applications for me personally has been quite life changing, and I've really enjoyed building with it. So I did promise that I'll have a demo that we can walk through. I will stop and start this demo because there are parts of it that I want to make sure that we all align to and we understand and we flow together. With all these conversations around AI assisted writing of code, there's been so many conversations around whether we still need the humans anymore. So many questions people have been asking. Does this mean that I don't need to learn? So does it mean we don't need software engineers anymore? And that thought is not accurate at all. We still need software developers. And these services are very powerful when you actually know how to code. We've seen them being very supportive to people who don't know how to code at all, and they're really good for that. If you want to use them to learn how to build with a new programming language that you don't know, they're very powerful for that. But we say also they need to be in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing as well, because with that, you remain in the loop as a human and you can get to guide the LLM. We know that generative AI is very unpredictable at times. So it's very important to still have that eye of a human looking to make sure that what we're getting is what we're looking for, looking at the code that we get and knowing that maybe we'll need to refactor this code to make sure that it's a little bit more optimized. So you still need the human in it. And I will also showcase the features of CLI that help you remain in the loop as a human. So the next slide, I will start the demo, and then I will stop and start so that we can all kind of follow together. So this application that I am demoing here, I actually demoed this when I was invited to a big tech conference in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I was there 2 weeks ago, and I demoed this app on. This is a fact checker app. So ultimately, what we're building is an application that you can go and enter or type in or input what you think is a fact, and it will tell you whether that actually is a fact or not. So in the end, we'll actually look at the app and we can play around with it, and it will see what it does. Um, and the interesting insights that came out, there were a lot of people that attended that conference, and very interesting what came out. There were a lot of people who see these coding assistants and they think that they're being replaced as software developers, and that's not the case at all. And I've already talked about it, but I did say what I find it very life-changing is for those of us who don't write code all the time, and we're looking to learn how to write code. We might be looking to learn a new language. I've seen them being powerful for that. I've hosted workshops before, and I've had people build with this tool, and they said they actually built an application using a programming language they've never touched before because they wanted to learn and see what they can do with that. So it's very powerful for that. At the end of this talk, I will share a QR code where you can access a lot of the links that I talk about here, and I will invite you to install QCLI and then play around with it, see what you can build. It's really powerful for helping us explore what can be possible. And I found it to be quite very powerful, that is putting that in our hands. So now let me go and demo the app that I just talked about. And let me just move my mic because I do want to stop and start it. So there are various ways or various environments where you can install QCLI. You can install it in whether you've got Mac OS or where you have Windows. Where you've got Windows, there's no native version just yet. So you have to have Whistle in your Windows machine, and then you can install QCLI in that. But the link that I'm sharing at the end, you will there's a document that can take you through all of that. So once you've then installed it, how you engage with the agent, the very first thing that you say is still on. The very first thing that you'll say to invoke the agent is to chat. So chat is how you get the agent going. Can we all see, or do I need to make this bigger? Let me zoom in a little bit and see. Is it visible?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's visible.
So, okay. So we typed Q chat and it responded already to say hi, it's Amazon Q. So what I've also enjoyed is how it engages with us like you're talking to a friend. So you say, hi, I'm Amazon Q, ask me anything. And you really can ask. And I said earlier on that there are features here that keep you in the loop as the human. So we just typed Q chat and then we carried on. If we did not want to be kept in the chat, we would have typed Q chat, and then you can see there's a slash accept all further down that it's saying things for you to try. So if we did Q chat and then we did slash accept all, that it takes us out of the loop as a human. It means that everything it generates, we are saying that we trust it. We're going to accept it as is. But because we want to remain in the loop as a human, we did not type the slash accept all. It's not advised to do the slash accept all if you are running in production already, because you want to make sure that you verify everything that you get. But if you're just testing out in test or your dev environment, you can do the slash accept all. But I have not seen a lot of use cases where people want to use it because you want to remain there and see what you are getting out. So then it gives me the engine, the agent. Then I've already said what I want to do. And now it's repeating back to me that, fine, let me stop it again because I want to look at that. So type QChat, and then I said that this is this is the application that I want to build. So I said, build a simple fact checking application. And then it repeats back to me that it's going to help me build this fact checking application. And then when you're seeing it doing the read, it's very important to know to be very clear upfront whether you want to do this in an existing workspace, so an existing project, or you want to start a completely new project. If what I'm doing here is in a completely new project, so for context, it's got no other applications or other files to look at. But if you did this in an existing project, it's using whatever files you already have as context. So you just need to be clear on that. Do you want to do this in an existing, as part of an existing project? Do you want to start a completely new project? So it went off, it told me what it's going to do, and then it went off to start to generate these code snippets for me. If you look at the bottom, it says enter Y to run this tool, otherwise continue chatting. That's another feature in which it keeps you in the loop as a human. So it generated some code pieces for you. It sent them back to you, and it's saying, are you happy with the code pieces that you're seeing here? So this is why it's very important for you to be able to check what you get so that you can already verify whether it's along the lines of what you're looking for. So looking at the code, we're happy with what it's seeing. So we're going to enter Y. If we were not happy with this code, we would have chatted again in natural language to say, we're not happy, or change this like that. As an example, when I went to the conference in Belfast, I was building a TripAdvisor clone, and I wanted the clone to help me with suggestions of places to go around Belfast. So when it generated the code for me, it didn't pre-populate the database with attractions. So when it gave me the first code snippet, it said blank for database entries. So I then chatted with it to say, please make sure that the database is already pre-populated with attractions and restaurants around Belfast. So that's an example of you continuing to chat with it. It's just going to continue with the same. Every file or every piece of code snippet that you need to build this application, it's just generating that for you now. This is building, it's a full stack app, so it's a web app. So it will do your front end and your back end. If you were just wanting code snippets just for back end, then you would have very few snippets being suggested for you. But because you want to do a web app, it's going to generate a little bit more. So it's taking a little bit longer to generate for you. But every feature that you need for your app, it's now generating. That's all that's happening now. Is all the different files that you need, it's generating those. And I don't know about you, I had never built a web app up until here. I've always been back end. That's what my background is. I did say earlier on, I worked on mainframes. When I moved from that, I worked on Java. I was mainly doing back end. So I had never done front end. And I always find it so intimidating. And to be able to build a full stack app for me in less than 20 minutes, I think it's quite life changing. So then it did all of that. It generated everything that I need, and then in the end, it then summarized what it created for me, the files that is created, and now it's telling me how to install all the dependencies that I will need. Let me just get a highlighter. If you see here, it's saying now these are the dependencies for me to install. I can either install this myself or it will install for me. It depends. So if I want so you see there's another natural language saying, can you please create the virtual environment for me? So you can either ask it to do things for you, or it will leave you to do that depending on how comfortable with you are. It always will ask you. And now there's my app just like that. And now we just logging onto the app and doing all the verification, and then we can start with the fact checking. So submitting a new fact, and it will tell me whether that really is a fact or not. And that was less than 20 minutes that we were able to build that app. And like I said, I found it very impactful for seeing what the art of the possible is. Okay, so we've looked at the app that we were able to build. Had I earlier on with the build encountered any issues or errors when the app starts to run? What tended to happen in the beginning, I would sometimes forget to install the requirements. And then when I start to run my application, I get an error. And I can come back to Q in my CLI, in my command line, and say, I'm getting this kind of an error. And it will tell me, it will step through everything with me and say what I actually did not do and why I'm getting that error. So I found it to be quite impactful for that. Okay. I did say earlier on, but I will share this link as well in the chat when I'm done with the build, that there's this QR code where you can check that the documentation that I talked about earlier on, that you can read more about how to get started with Q Developer in general, but also Q for your command line. You can install it in your environment, and then you can play around with it and see what you get. I'll be very interested to hear what you actually build. And thank you very much for inviting me to this your meetup today. It's really been really exciting to be here with all of you and to go through this. And I said earlier on when I started the talk, are we the next generation developer? So I hope this answered that question on how to become those. These tools work alongside us. They don't replace us. They don't take away what we do, but we use them to augment or to move a little bit faster in what we already are doing. So thank you again for the invite. And I will end there, and then I can look at any questions that you have.
This is actually a fruitful session about Amazon Q and Amazon Q CLI as the same as the Amazon Q developer, that we are going to use it on the CLI, right? How to chat with it and building an application. So it is a good session, and If anyone is having doubts, can you please go ahead and
I've shared the link. The link will take you to the documentation. You can read up about Q, IDE as well, but also CLI, learn about it and how to install. And I'm seeing you responded when I asked earlier on about how many of us are actually working with uh, uh, AI assisted coding components. And I see a few answers there. Amazon Q, it's great to see. ChatGPT, Copilot, yes. And yeah, thank you for the answers and thank you for this.
and thanks everyone for joining the session at the weekend. Sunday, the weekend evening, everyone joined, and hope you all gained insightful session. And you've got the QR code right, and scan that and build something new on the Amazon QCLI and tag everyone in this women intake and Veliswa over here, and let's see what's new you are building with Amazon QCLI. And